We'll see how he is tomorrow, but he came back and attempted to play.
A couple of really interesting things there, and we'll get into this story about what Lindy Ruff talked about this morning in a second, but also he just mentioned Ryan Miller on one of those particular plays. It was a shot that he thought Miller could stop. It's very rare you hear that come up with Miller. He's been so good throughout this regular season and these playoffs. Okay, Scott, we're going to show these are the penalties that he was talking about at the end of the second period. This is the one on Campbell. That was the first penalty. And then Zubris, and I didn't like that one at all. And then Redden scores the 5-on-3 goal.
Well, there's a few calls both sides tonight that you could argue with, and it's those soft stick hooks and whatnot that stick across the body that nobody seems to like and get frustrated by, and the league's tried to get those out of them. But at the end of the day, their special teams have let them down. That's been the deciding factor in most of these nights, is because their 5-on-5 play has been very good. These are the two best teams 5-on-5 during the regular season, and the difference again tonight in this series, they haven't scored a power play goal. They had their opportunities, it wasn't there. With respect to the comment about Miller, he hasn't shied away from challenging his best players.
Vanek this morning.
Yeah. Vanek, Afinogenov, yep. Briere. Briere responded with a great game tonight. So, I don't know, maybe he's trying to light a fire, but the goaltender has been a big reason why they've been able to stay at least close.
And the other goaltender at the other end, Ray Emery, right behind us right now, a major reason that Ottawa has been victorious in the first two games. Now, the other reason that this is interesting about what he had to say, and Emery's just waiting for Ruff to finish so he can go into the podium room, is that this morning, Lindy Ruff was asked about the officiating, and he said he was watching a game with his assistant coach, James Patrick, from when they were playing, and he said it was embarrassing. He said he was on the ice for 10 minutes and he could have taken 15 penalties. And he said he thinks the game is better. He feels there has to be a happy medium, but tonight he's not feeling he's feeling a little bit differently. We're going to go to Ray Emery at the podium. Joe Corvo is there too, two of the biggest senators on this night. Let's hear what they got to say.
Joe, could you describe that shot? It looked to us like it bounced or fluttered or was a knuckleball or.
Yeah, Spez drew it right back, and it was bouncing, and I just made an effort to cup my stick just so it didn't fly high on me, and just put it at the net.
How big is that goal in your life, and what were your thoughts when you saw it bounce?
It's obviously the biggest in my life, and it was just total elation, I guess, when it went in. It was obviously just a great moment, just something that I'll always remember.
Joe, what does it mean to get the first two games here in Buffalo for your team?
It's huge. I think teams have had trouble coming in our building this year and winning, and we feel like we play really well there. And just getting two here it's huge.
Joe, the Rangers never really emotionally recovered when Drury scored the late goal. How did you guys collect yourself after the Briere goal in that intermission for the first overtime?
I think the core group of the team came in after that goal and said, we have to refocus. If we keep thinking about that goal, then only bad things were going to happen.
Question for Ray. They're up 2-0, and you guys just kept your composure. It seemed like it got easier. Somehow you guys refocused and started playing your game defensively rather than chase and find yourself sort of a little bewildered out there the first part of that period.
Yeah, I think that's a major difference in our team right now is that even though we were down 2-0 and they really kind of jumped on us at the start, there's no panic. We're mentally tough enough to play that defensive game and bide our time until we get back in the game. So, that's one of the strengths of this team and the reason that maybe we can come back from that late goal or the 2-0 deficit early, just how mentally tough we are.
All right, Ray Emery and Joe Corvo at the podium. You had a point you wanted to make about what we were speaking about with Ruff.
Well, Lindy had talked about how the game has changed, and I think that speaks to there have been improvements overall in how the NHL has evolved and how the game is being played. But he also went on about having to have some poise and self-discipline and not getting overwhelmed by bad calls, because they're going to happen. There's going to be frustration, and you can't let it get the better of you. And I think they forgot that message very quickly once adversity settled in.
I thought they gave up the goal, but I thought they came out really well well at the beginning of the third period once they got calmed down.
But they were doing a lot of grousing, a lot of complaining at various times on the ice, and I think they did get distracted at times as well. But at the end of the day, you can't point the finger at the officials under circumstances like this. You have a 2-0 lead on home ice in a game you absolutely have to win.
Yep.
You have to point the finger at yourself.
Could have been 3-0 too with a disallowed goal by Vonnick that was scored even before the first two. So they got a lot of complaining they might be doing. You know what Joe Corvo's favorite player was growing up?
I don't.
All right, let's find out.
Hi, my name is Joe Corvo from Oak Park, Illinois, and my favorite player growing up was Chris Chelios.
You know what the funniest thing about that is? We're going to watch the goal again. He talked about this being a one bouncer that he knew Miller was going to have trouble with. Is how many guys are naming players who are active still? Chris Chelios and Daniel Alfredson named Steve Yzerman, who's, what, 6 years older than he is?
Well, and Chris Chelios covers about 2 generations, so he's officially alumni and active at the same time, and that's probably why he wears number 7 in honor of Chelios.
That's right. Good call. Look at Volchenkov, 37-49. Going into the second overtime, he had 11 blocked shots in the game, and that monster hit on Jason Pominville.
And an interesting stat, Redden Mazzeros, I think it's now 8 games in which they've never been scored on.
Yeah, Mazzeros Redden.
Redden, sorry, yes.
They had a rough time against Pittsburgh, but they were great against New Jersey, and they've been good here. Daniel Briere, no more concerns about his ice time, 32 minutes tonight, and he was great, scored the one that sent it into overtime. And really, they gave the Derek Roy line a lot of chance, too, against Alfredson. And the one thing about Vanek and Afinogenov that the complaints are about those guys sometimes is sometimes they try and do too much, a little bit themselves, and Don was really showing a couple of their replays where they were trying to carry too much against the Ottawa D.
Well, that was the problem. They weren't getting the puck in and getting in and causing some havoc, using their speed to get in and retrieve it, and they were getting stymied at the blue line and turning it over. And Ottawa's a dangerous team to play that game because it's all about puck control for them, and they were very good in that regard. And I think the biggest thing that impressed me about Ottawa going into that overtime, again, they could have been down after giving up that lead and scratching their heads saying, oh boy, what happens now? Instead, they came out and they took it to them. And Don talked about how one team had to win tonight and one team wanted to win. Well, I think when we got to overtime, it was a case of one team had everything to lose and one team had nothing to lose, and that's how Ottawa played. And they were loosey-goosey and they got the job done.
Henrik Talinder, we'll keep an eye on him tomorrow. As you heard Lindy Ruff say, he's hurt, tried to come back and play. That would be a huge loss for Buffalo, part of their #1 shutdown pair. Although Ludman and Talinder were on the ice tonight when Spetz's line scored their goal. Game 3, Monday, 7 Eastern, Ottawa at home up 2-0. Here are your images from tonight.